I don't know if people are aware of the fact that there were at least two of the people. They were mutilated. I don't know what I can say. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. But I can say that they were. It wasn't. It was not like somebody had a butcher knife or anything like that. Like the wounds were equivalent to something that was much like huge gaping wounds. Not
maybe like a
not
machete.
like I'm talking like if you think about being a hunter and if you think about a deer and all that, if you can go through that process in your head, like it was to that equivalent, if not worse. Like
Okay.
so it's not just like a stabbing situation. It was really like something very sinister.
How do you know that? How do you know that? If I
Yeah.
Well, I know from Dylan.
So then
He
she saw.
told me from what Hunter knew. From what Hunter knew.
Welcome back to Docket Decoder. So this past week, Judge Hippler finally released a few more documents from the sealed files in the Brian Koberger case, continuing his slow drip of information for those of us out here still digging for the truth around this horrific case. Some of the information that we got access to recently included information about the injuries that the 4 victims sustained during the homicides on King Road. It's clear from what we have learned that the injuries the victims sustained are far worse than what we were originally led to believe. This was not a case of 4 people being stabbed to death quickly and quietly while they slept. It could easily be argued that all 4 of them sustained substantial defensive wounds as they attempted to fight back against their attacker or attackers. Learning more about the injuries is what brought me back to what we're going to look at in today's video. I recently made a video where we looked at one of the early peripheral voices in the IDAHO4 case. Specifically, that video focused on an individual who claimed to be close to Dylan Mortensen's inner circle. When I use the term peripheral voices, I'm referring to individuals who are not officially tied to the case. They haven't necessarily been identified by law enforcement or the prosecution or even the defense, but they are individuals who have come forward claiming some type of connection to the case, and also claim to have some information that catches the attention of those of us following the case. Some of the better known examples of these peripheral voices would include WSU mom Kim and the University of Idaho student who went by the pseudonym of Dave. The clip I showed at the beginning of this video comes from one of my personal favorite creators, True Crime Design. The person you heard in that video was an individual who went by the pseudonym Dot, and in that clip, you heard her detailing some information about the severity of the injuries of at least 2 of the victims. Dot claimed that she had gotten that information from her friend, Dylan Mortensen. She claimed that Dylan had heard those details from Hunter, who we know did enter the house before police arrived on scene, where he is believed to have viewed both Ethan and Xana's bodies, leading me to believe that those would be the 2 victims that Dot is referring to. The information we have learned recently seems to verify at least that claim that Dot previously made about the injuries sustained by these 2 victims. I do think it's important to note that Dot came forward with her story more than 2 years ago. To the best of my knowledge, she first appeared on a panel during a live stream on the channel Evil CJ in late July 2023. Now, that panel was hosted in part by Dago from the True Crime Cafe, and what she shared that night raised a lot of eyebrows. I remember hearing her story and realizing that if her story was indeed true, it would completely alter almost everything that law enforcement had been telling us about the case. At the time, most people quickly wrote her off as unreliable. Her story contained lots of contradictions to the information from the probable cause affidavit, which at that time was the source of the vast majority of the information that we knew about the case. But now, 2 years later, we have way more information than that. And the PCA has been shown to be an unreliable source of information. So I believe it's time to revisit Dot's story. I want to hold it up to the light of all that we know now and see how well it actually holds up. Personally, I don't know how credible or not credible her story is. However, I do believe that her story, for the most part, has aged well. And by that, I mean that much of what she described lines up uncannily well with the details now confirmed through police reports and investigative documents. Before we listen to her story, though, I want to watch a short clip of a panel on the True Crime Cafe channel discussing and reflecting on the things that Dot had shared just the day before. In this clip, they're discussing one of the aspects of Dot's story that they thought was the most difficult to believe, which was the response that Dot claimed to have gotten from law enforcement when she said she went to the Moscow Police Department to report the information. Basically, she indicated that she had not been interviewed by any law enforcement agents, but she had simply been given a piece of paper to fill out. I would assume it was some sort of a tip form. So she filled it out, slid it back under the glass to the individual manning the lobby, and then she never heard anything else from them about it.
But yeah, that is the biggest problem, biggest issue I have with this whole thing. Why? I can't imagine any law enforcement agency doing this. And
no. They would have stopped her from walking out that freaking door. If
and
you know what I mean, they would have stopped her right there and said, "Get back
she
here."
Wouldn't have left
down.
Yeah,
tell us everything that you know.
Did anybody catch Lana's live last night?
No.
Why would we?
No.
Because it's kind of pertinent to what you were just saying. Of you can't imagine LE turning a blind eye to this stuff, and how incompetent would they be if they did. But listening to her live last night, she goes through the Officer Tolleson and how he dealt with that chiropractor murder, Dr. Drake and Dr. Moore. And she really did a deep dive through the documents and the stories and the holes in the stories. And I mean, it was horrifying. If true, it does not.
It exists out there. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it don't. But this is some crazy.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it. I do believe it did.
It seems clear from this clip that at that time, it was hard to imagine that law enforcement would possibly respond to such important information in this manner. However, I do think that now, 2 years later, this response from MPD not only seems like it's possible, I think many people would argue that it's highly probable that this would be how they would respond. They had tunnel vision by this point, and their tunnel vision set in the moment that they decided Brian Kohberger was their man. So any information that came along that didn't support that story was going to be of little to no value to their investigation. So let's go ahead and listen to her tell her story. When this is over, let me know what you think. Is she credible? Is she not credible? What parts were convincing or what parts do you have doubts about? Be sure to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments below what you think.
I'm just saying that, like, I was good friends with Dylan, and I was at an apartment party that night, very close by, and there's things that I heard and observed, and I went to the police and tried to tell them that, me and several other people, and they weren't very interested, and I'm just trying to tell my part because it's really traumatizing to experience what I experienced with what happened, and everything that I know. It's very hard to feel that every day.
Sure. Sure, absolutely. What if I can ask? Yeah, right. If I can ask, what agencies did you go to?
I just went to local law enforcement. Like I didn't push anything really, because once I went to them, they kind of made it seem like they kind of knew, they had figured out
They weren't
what
interested.
they were doing. Yeah, they made it
they
kind
had
of
their
seem.
narrative.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
they were not listening at all, but they were kind of reluctant to like really be interested in it. So I felt like, okay, well, I feel like an idiot. I'm coming with this, and like what I have to say is not important. So I never pursued it after that, and neither did anybody that I knew. You know, that my friends were at the party. We never like try to pursue it, but it's like I hear and see all these things, and
Well,
it's
What
really
the
hard. What I have told a few people, like literally 2 people, I've told this story before a couple weeks ago. And it was that when I woke up in the morning, I woke up around maybe about 8:15, the latest maybe 8:30, and I smoke cigarettes, so I went outside to the balcony to smoke a cigarette because we don't smoke in the apartment. And I seen 5 people outside in the backyard area of the
Okay.
house.
Can you describe? Okay, I've heard that part of that story.
Yes. Yes.
Can you? And I know you're not going to say if you know who they are or any of that, but can you describe what male, female, black, white, Asian, any of that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there was 3 males and 2 females. One of the males was like very pale and had light colored hair. There was a black male. There was another guy that I had never really even seen before, that was kind of just like had his hoodie up. I believe I seen Dylan out
What
there
color was
because
the hoodie?
What color was the hoodie? Yeah.
I want
The
to say
older?
like navy blue, like
Oh.
maybe
A
like
dark.
probably a dark blue. I
How
barely
many
could.
feet approximately do you think you were away from the group?
I want to say probably less than 35 feet.
Less than 35. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty close, actually. 35 feet. That's pretty close.
The apartments that I was at, there was a balcony, and if you go to the right of the balcony, the house is literally like next to my shoulder on the right hand side. So it's like,
Oh, there's the apartment.
Oh, that house.
it's
Straight back.
literally there, and we had a lot of people
Oh, I gotcha.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, we were partying just like an average night. We had a lot of people in the apartment. We partied all the time. There was always ruckus that was going on through the neighborhood. You know, for the most part, I never really seen or heard anything that was really strange up until like about 3 a.m. But in the morning, I remember seeing Dylan, because I know Dylan, she's taller, so I can kind of pick her out. And I know Emma was there, and Emma's friend. And there was a guy that was also like I said, really pale. I wasn't sure who he was, with light colored hair. And there was another guy that had a hoodie on that I couldn't identify. But they were all just literally passing a joint around, because they would wake up and smoke, and they were just all smoking. Like, I would have never guessed anything happened at that house when I woke up that morning, until I found out later. I didn't leave until like 1:30, but I would have never guessed that anything happened, because they were just out smoking like normal, like nothing had happened.
And this was at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, about 8:30. I didn't leave till 1:30.
And so, who was the
Yes,
everybody? She's
Ashlyn,
using a voice.
Emma,
She's using a voice changer, guy. People in chat, they're saying she sounds older. That's why. Anyway, so you're saying that you saw a pale guy with light colored hair and a blue hoodie, Dylan, Emma, a black guy, and somebody else, you said?
Yeah, well, no, the light color, the guy that had like the really light skin, that was pale, he didn't have the blue hoodie. That was separate. There was the other guy. The
Oh, I'm
guy,
sorry.
there was one guy that, I don't know if it was blonde hair, very light colored skin and colored hair, like really pale. And then there was another guy that had like the navy blue, like darker hoodie, and kind of like from the angle that I was at, I couldn't really actually see his face to really
Okay.
know who he was.
Have you
Gotcha.
watched any of the
Does
grub
that,
truck videos?
did you see them in the
Right.
grub truck video?
Yeah, I've watched them. I've followed like when all this stuff happened and the things transpired the way they did. You know, I followed a lot of the stuff, and um it's been crazy, all the speculation, the things that some people say that, you know, people that I knew. And you know, it's really hard when you hear and see these things. And you know, these are people that you went to school with, or you hung out with, or you know what I mean, you went to a party with. It's hard to see this stuff. It really
Well,
is. Yeah, like a lot of people will say, well, like, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that? Like, I was just a party goer. Like, at the end of the day, like, I was just somebody that was at a party, like, getting drunk, having a good time. Like, I was not somebody that was being aware and was like looking for anything or anything. Like, I was just a party goer, you know. And it just happened to be at the time that these things happened, you know. And so it's not
So
you know, nothing was just like I was there and, you know, zeroed in. But I did hear things and I did see
but
things in
the
the
fact that
morning.
there was 5 people in the
well,
backyard is weird.
yeah. Was the door open up there, or was
Like
it
Um,
a
closed?
sliding glass
I can
door.
say
Yeah.
the back door, the back door. I did not see the back door open when I seen them outside. Like, when I seen them outside, they were just congregating. Like, they would wake up in the morning, like, we're gonna smoke some. You know, they always did that. You know,
By
a
the
lot of people
couch?
did that
By the couch?
near the
By the
couch.
couch?
Yeah, like
That's-
the end part of the couch towards the
Yeah.
sliding door, like that end area. They had like a
Right.
little table, like a kind of like a little table close to the like patio, and everybody would just smoke over there. It was just like a normal morning. There
Well,
wasn't like
let me
Well,
ask you something real quick if I can. I'm
you would see
sorry.
the door though.
Yeah, you should be able to see a slider. You said you know Dylan, right? You're friends with Dylan.
yeah, I would say I was friends with her.
Okay, you know who Quinn is, her boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Did you see him there?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Just curious. So that's what. And you did say that there was Dylan, you thought Emma and one of their friends.
Yeah, I always knew I would kind of know Emma because of the fact that who she always hanged out with.
Yeah.
He was a black guy, and like they always were together wherever they went. So, you know, if
Who was
you see
the other
if you
friend? Do
see
you know who she
D,
was?
you mean Emma's friend?
Yeah.
D. We call him D. You know, we would buy things from him, so to speak. So that's kind of like how we ended up knowing him. It was pretty cold that morning. It was really normal, like, to just go out on the balcony and smoke. And you know, a lot of the times people would wake up and they would go outside and sit on the couches and smoke and stuff like that. And it wasn't like abnormal. So like there was nothing
Yeah.
that really told me, like, in that morning, like nothing that really stood out that I'd be like, oh, there's something wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay. Did you see any specific vehicles in the air, like around the house in the parking lot that morning?
No, nothing that was out of, like, everything was kind of pretty normal from what I normally seen. Like, there was a lot of vehicles that would come and go, but they were all for a lot of the parties. Like, there's the Linda Lane footage where you can hear somebody talking about Charlie, and that was like the neighbors, the party I was at, like the neighbors a couple of doors down, they were always fighting. So like you can hear that, and I can like verify that that was legit because they were always fighting, boyfriend and girlfriend, all the time. Like,
Okay. Well, you were there all night, right? Like partying all night long.
Yeah, I got there before 10 o'clock, and I hung out there. We were playing beer pong. We were playing games. We left at like a little after 1:30 to go get more alcohol. And then we came back, and then I was there. I fell asleep maybe around 3:30, and then when I woke up was like around 8 or 8:30 when I smoked a cigarette and seen my scene. But around 3 o'clock, we had heard they were trying to find Murphy. They were trying to find the dog.
So you saw the ambulance show up?
I didn't see the ambulance until I went to leave. When I went to leave, it was about maybe 1:30, and everything was blocked off. I couldn't even get to the right side of the area. I had to walk all the way down the road to get picked up. And that's when I seen that everything was blocked off, and I didn't know what was going on. We were playing a game called Two Truths and a Lie, and we were playing beer pong too as well. And I had a friend that went on Instagram Live. It was like 22 minutes she was on, and like 18 of those minutes we were in the apartment, just like our music was blaring, like all that stuff. There was maybe like about 2 minutes when we were outside and we were recording it, and you can hear something. I don't know if it was something related. You can hear some stuff, but
Who did you talk to when you went down to Moscow to give your report? Who'd you talk to? Do you remember?
I wasn't anybody specifically. I just went to the front desk.
They didn't introduce you, or they didn't introduce themselves, or there wasn't no. You went down to there. You didn't call. You went down physically.
Yeah, I went down physically.
So there wasn't a name tag on their desk. There wasn't. You know what I mean?
Like when I went to the front, there, like I just went to the front and there was a clerk sitting there, and I explained like, hey, this is where I was. This is the address. This is what's going on. I explained about what I heard maybe at about 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and they said, okay, we will have a detective get in touch with you. They gave me a piece of paper, and it was like a blank piece of paper. I had to fill out my name, what I heard, what I seen. I slipped it under the glass, and they were like, okay, we'll have a detective contact you. Nobody ever contacted me. So I just figured they figured out what was going on,
You didn't try and contact them after?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Because that's some pretty heavy shit. If you can place somebody at the scene of a crime in between when the crime took place and when 911 was called, especially during an 8-hour gap, that's some heavy shit.
I didn't. DM was outside.
What's that?
Were you saying DM was outside with them?
Yeah.
Yes, because I know Dylan.
See that? I don't understand how
that
they wouldn't.
Part is crazy to me.
And you didn't see Bethany anywhere around there either?
No, I mean, from what I had heard, Bethany wasn't even there that night. She was at a party. She didn't come home until like maybe past 11. She was partying at a different place. I don't even think she was there that night.
I mean, 11 the next morning or 11 that night?
Yeah, 11 the next morning. So she was gone through the night.
Right before the 911 call.
Yeah, I don't know what time. I just know when I woke up at around the 8 and I smoked, I went back to bed. I was hungover. I was really tired. So once I finally woke up, and got around to do everything, and everybody was talking about everything, and all the lights were going, like everything was crazy. And so I had to call for a ride because I couldn't even get down into that area, and so my ride had to go all the way down. And when I walked down, there was all the stuff that was happening, and Snapchat was going crazy. It was like,
So what time were the Snapchats going off in the morning?
I don't know. I woke up, I want to say I woke up after 12 o'clock. I don't know what time they started,
Well, but you seen him at 8:30 in the morning.
Well, I actually physically seen them at 8:30 in the morning. I don't know what time like the Snapchats or whatever went off.
Because I'd heard that's around when the Snapchat started
So,
to go off.
what are you a student? If I can ask, are you a student out there too, or?
I was a student. I no longer am after everything that happened.
Oh, okay. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
I was going to be being close to a junior. I had enough credits to where I was very close to being a junior.
Okay, cool. Got you.
I got a little bit backtracked because I had a major I was planning on going into, and then I kind of like changed courses, and then everything that had happened, I couldn't do it anymore. There's so many things that are so hard to comprehend, and one of them is like I said, that morning I would have never guessed that there was murders ever. Like, it was like a normal morning.
What were the Snapchats saying if you read them when you woke up after?
People were saying that, like, some people saying that there was ODs going on, or like the house overdosed, and that was pretty much what it was for the most part, is that people in the house had overdosed and died.
So let me ask you a question real quick. If you were to guess, okay, based on what you saw the next morning, what you heard being there, what do you think happened that morning, I should say?
Well, at like 3 a.m., a little bit after 3 a.m., this was before I went to bed. We were supposed to, in the apartment that I was at the party, we were supposed to go on the balcony to smoke. We were not supposed to like smoke weed or even cigarettes inside, but some people didn't listen to the people that resided at the apartment, so they would smoke inside anyway. So they would crack like 2 of the windows, like on the right hand side of the apartment, and when they did crack the windows to get the breeze and to get the smoke out, like there was a lot of stuff that went on it. Like around a little bit after 3, there were a couple of things that I heard that were really disturbing, but I was drunk and I just set, like, in my head I was like, you know what? It's probably something really stupid and I'm just overanalyzing it, like in my head I didn't think like, oh, there is something of emergency. When I look back at it now, like it literally tears me up inside, because I'm like, could I have done more? Could I have, like, did I just bypass something, but it was like it was a scream. There was one scream. It was it literally, like, it sounded like somebody was being mauled by a bear. Like, it was like,
when you heard
when
that?
did you hear that? When did you hear that?
This was a little bit after 3 a.m. But there's a lot of times that screams go on at parties, like really for weird reasons, and so in my head I want to just tell myself, okay, well, this is a little weird, but even if I thought it was, something maybe to think about, I'm at a party with a bunch of people and we were smoking weed and we were drinking, and there were people that were doing illegal drugs, and you know what I mean? Like, if I would have called the police, I would have gotten everybody at the party in trouble too. I had like so many things weighing in my head. Like, if I had done that, and even if I did, I have to tell an officer, like, hey, I'm drunk, but I heard this scream. Like, is he even going to believe me? Like, I was really backed into a corner. So, but now that I think of it, like, it bothers me because I remember that scream, and it was not a normal scream. It was a more.
So do you think the police did their job?
In regards to what?
Well, no, if they didn't call her back.
Well, no.
So they were knocking. The first week that everything like transpired, I know because like my friend who lives at the apartments, He said they knocked on a few doors or whatever, but it was not anything where they were like really in depth, like having conversations with people. They weren't like really actually like trying to like, okay, what happened with this? Like they knocked a couple of times, like, hey, did you see a? Mostly they wanted to know if we seen a specific car in the area, but they didn't care to hear about anything else. It was kind of like, okay, did you see this white car in the area? Like that's really what people said. They weren't really like, hey, did you see it or hear any sounds? Like they really weren't interested.
So, do you remember seeing any of these cops that were in these unmarked cars over by the band field across over there?
No, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about what happened with that stuff, but I do know that like
I just didn't know if maybe you saw the cars and saw them questioning people.
What about the car driving up and down all over the place? Did you hear that?
No, honestly, I didn't. No, I didn't. And like nobody that I knew even seen anything like that. You know, like we didn't, as far as it goes with like Brian, I can tell you that for myself and on behalf of probably half of the people that partied with me, we never knew him. We've never seen him. We never knew anything about him. And when he got charged and it went on the news and we were watching, we were stunned because we were not expecting. We literally were like, who is this person? Nobody really knew him, you know?
Yeah. So you said, what time did you say you went to sleep that night roughly?
It was probably between 3 and 3:30, you know, maybe a little bit later, but I was in the apartment. The windows were shut. We had the doors locked, you know, and it's like, you know, it's really hard to hear anything after that point. But yeah, we were close to that point. But I remember they were calling for the dog. I don't know if the dog was missing, but I remember there was like, I don't know if it was Ethan, but somebody was whistling. A male was whistling for the dog. They were looking for the dog at like 3 a.m.
Was that before or after you heard the scream that you said you heard?
It was before the scream.
Before. It would have to be before. And so you heard a male whistling for Murphy.
Yeah, like, you know, if you put like 2 fingers in your mouth and you like blow for a whistle.
Were they saying Murphy or just whistling?
They were just whistling, but we knew Murphy because when I would party over there, sometimes Murphy would get out and, you know, and we kind of knew the dog just as like, you know, a neighbor dog. So when we would hear stuff like that, we just presumed that because nobody else really had a dog over there. So we just presumed maybe it couldn't have not been Murphy, but I just assumed that it was because I know when Ethan was over there and like he was able to, he would at night when they would let the dog out, he would call for the dog too. So
gotcha. So
like, it was like the dog was everybody owned the dog in the house. Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody.
Yeah, no, I get it. They were like, that's a lot. Yeah, in a house like that makes sense.
Party dog.
Yeah. So did you knew Dylan per se? You said, like, did she ever talk about her relationship with Kaylee and Maddie and Xana and all them?
Yeah, she said that they all got along really well. There was you know, a couple of times where they kind of, you know, they just had like they had their own little personal problems because when you live with people that close together and, you know, everybody hears and sees everything, you know, and it becomes like a little dramatic because, you know everything, you know, when somebody goes to the bathroom, you know what their classes are like, you really get to know everything about their life. So, you know, when you live with people like that, it's, you know, it's very easy to develop patterns, you know, and I think sometimes they butt heads because you know, Dylan would ask like, hey, you normally come home at this time. Are you okay? You know, and it's like, it's not her business, but she knows how that goes, you know, and then somebody would feel like, oh, you're infringing on, what I'm doing for the night. So I think, like, other than that, they got along pretty well, from what I know.
Yeah. Were you in a sorority too, or no?
No.
Okay, that's probably smart. I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I would never get into that because it was so much drama. It was. I'm so glad I never did.
Right.
How long were you friends with DM?
I want to say a little under 2 years.
Yeah. Why do you think there's some people blaming her for these crimes?
Well, Dylan was a very. She was mischievous, and she had like a wild side to her, and she made mistakes, but she also had like a serious side that was like committed to her education, but she also had a side where she was kind of reckless.
The dark.
She experimented with drugs like we all did, and she
Well,
always
we know her
yeah,
her background.
yeah.
And
She always craved attention for men that like guys that were bad, like the bad boys.
Yeah.
She never wanted to be with a guy that wanted to treat her right. She wanted to be with a guy that was like, a thug.
Bad boy.
Yeah. So like when she would get involved in that, she had her little sprees and stuff like that. And, I would try to, kind of say like, hey, I know you're trying to get with this guy, but just try to just focus on living your life, and she was very obstinate. She didn't always want to listen, but for the most part, she was a pretty decent friend, she was a pretty decent friend.
Why do you think she didn't call?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Right away.
She wouldn't call.
Well,
have you spoken with her?
Well, what I can say, I have to be very careful what I say, but what I can say is there was a story that was presented to her that
she's standing outside at 8:30 in the morning, according to you. So why is she standing outside smoking or hanging out with people?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's what my question.
What was the story that was presented to her?
Right. I don't know what. Well, one of the things I can say that she said was that all of the rooms, the doors were shut.
Did they all have locks on it?
And they all had locks, keypads, like numbered locks to them. So, with her, she said that by all accounts, normally that is how she would wake up and see things would be locked doors.
So you're saying that she wouldn't. So you're saying that DM wouldn't have noticed, according. Because if you look at the statement in the PCA, she's stating that she saw some dude clad in black.
Yeah.
And then you're telling me that when those crimes took place, 4 hours later, and you're outside hanging out with people like shit didn't even happen, and you don't even know that shit happened.
Right.
That's really odd.
She said that she did not state that about.
No, I'm saying if you're hanging. Oh, she's saying she did not state.
She never made that statement.
Like what she's saying is like when she went through the run through of the night, like she was told things, and like she kind of like, well, maybe that's true. She was drunk and she had smoked weed. And I think she did a little bit of Molly, so she was definitely under the influence. She said that like that morning she still had the residuals, but when they had talked to her and they kind of were giving her this like kind of thing of like, we know that you've seen this person, or there's this, and like she kind of honestly just like under pressure went with
along with her
kind of
story.
it. Not necessarily like was like, oh yeah, that's 100% true, but like even when she would say no, I didn't see, they'd say like, oh, but did you see a figure? And she said, well, I did see a figure, and they'd say
So
like,
they gave her a scripted statement, and she went along with it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was.
well, they
there
just
was
kept
Poseidon.
antagonizing her. Yeah.
Hold on. So you're saying so Dylan told you this?
She said specifically like that they antagonized her, that they had like repeatedly over and over again like pushed something, and she kind of like in her head she said, I almost wanted to believe that maybe what they were saying is true, you know. So she kind
Well,
of
I mean,
like,
I'm not saying
but
that it's
They
not
were
because
pushing
we've
her
all
to
kind of
the
had a. Hold on one second, everybody.
dominance.
Hold on. What I'm not saying what you're saying isn't true, okay? Because we've all kind of felt that way in one way or another. What I'm asking you is, you're saying that DM is stating that what she gave in the statement to the PCA isn't 100.
no, it's not. No.
That's
So
what.
it was
Yeah,
a
I'm saying that
You're saying
100%.
DM told you that?
That's not like the whole thing about seeing somebody with bushy eyebrows and all black. She said that's never anything that she ever volunteered.
Well, you
Or I
because
have been in contact with Ann Taylor,
okay.
her team of people, and I gave her my friend gave her the Instagram, the 22 minutes of that night, and I've been in contact with her, and everything that I've expressed right now I've expressed to Anne. We haven't really divulged on like getting deeper and deeper into it, but I've expressed these things to her, and she wants me to
but shouldn't
she
you
wants
call
me to
the
actually
authorities?
physically go there to where I was, and to show where I was in that time frame and what angle of things that I've seen. And I've been
Right.
terrified to do so because I'm worried that somebody's going to be filming and they're going to film me and see me. She said we could do it at really late at night.
Yeah, but you can call the LE. You can
Well,
call
Yeah.
them. You don't
what
have to
she's
show
saying
up.
is she doesn't want to be seen.
The
Yeah, and
PCA.
I know people say like, well, why would you give this information? And honestly, I've been comfortable giving the information because there's so much speculation. 90% of the people don't believe me. Anyway,
Right.
even like, and I'm being real when I say this right now, there are so many people that aren't even going to believe me. So that works to my advantage. Even though I seen what I seen, there's a lot of people that will discredit me or say, no, you weren't there, this, that, and the other. There's so much more that I do know, and things that have gone on, but it's like telling my side. I get a
Right.
couple of people that believe me, and there's a lot of people that don't, and I understand.
I'm not saying I don't believe you,
Yeah.
because everything can exist until I know it's proven 100 either way. But what I'm saying is if you looked out your window at 8:30 in the morning and you saw 5 people, one of them including DM and one of them was D.
Yeah, I was on the balcony, to be specific. Like,
you know what I mean? Like
the part. Yeah.
That's important right there, because hello, like they're standing out there like nothing took place, and this is 4 hours,
Yeah, I was out like
3.5 before
yeah.
LE's contacted. And then also the statement with the PCA. The PCA is what was used to arrest BK.
Right.
The
That's why it's
PCA
so
was used to do all this stuff. And if you're saying that DM told you what she told you about her statement with the PCA, that puts all of this in question. Everything that took place from the arrest all the way up to today.
Yeah.
It's always been a question.
And also the
You know
fact
what I'm
that I
saying?
don't know if people are aware of the fact that
You got to contact somebody.
there were at least 2 of the people they were mutilated. I don't know what I can say. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on a YouTube
Well, if you're
channel.
talking, yeah, but if you're talking to Anne,
but I can say that they were. It was not like somebody had a butcher knife or anything like that. Like the wounds were equivalent to something that was much like huge gaping wounds, not like
maybe like a machete,
a
not a
katana.
knife going into like I'm talking like if you think about being a hunter and if you think about a deer and all that, if you can go through that process in your head, like it was to that equivalent, if not worse, like
okay,
gaping wounds. So
you need
it's
to,
not just like a stabbing situation. It was really like something very sinister.
how do you
Somebody,
know that? How do you know that? If I
yeah.
could,
well, I know from Dylan.
okay, she told you what they looked like. Okay, I got you.
So then
She
she saw.
told me from what
Then you.
Hunter knew. So
Have you talked to Hunter? Do you know Hunter Junks?
I haven't talked to him at all. I never really knew him, but she told me from what on that morning she said that it was.
I don't know. Like you need to contact somebody seriously.
I would
But
try
I did talk. I have reached out to the
Have you
proper
tried the
people.
FBI?
But
How about
how
the
are
FBI?
they? How are they not taking you seriously
They're
then?
not.
I mean, this is some
They're
important
not.
stuff. But
They're
this is
not.
So this is a good way to
Yeah.
this is a good way to put it out there and go public, you know?
Yeah, and I've talked
So who-
to
We're gonna
them.
stop
I
listening
have.
now.
so
You said you have talked to the FBI too?
I have talked with anybody and everybody that I can talk to that would hear my story and that could do anything for that. I have spoken. I have shown, that I was at the apartment that night. I have shown documentations that I was a student there. I have given proof, and despite doing that, I still don't feel like they have taken me seriously because nothing has happened from that. I mean, they've listened to me, but nobody has like looked at other evidence or anything. They're just
So
going with this like Brian
Who-
situation,
let me ask you
nobody's.
this. Do you
Hold
think
on
Brian
one
was
second,
involved?
Dago. I got to address something in chat here real quick. Okay, she called Ann Taylor. How is she going to get hurt by us asking her these questions, or by anybody telling her she needs to contact Ellie with the information that she's talking about? What are you talking about, Mystic?
Those are just haters and disinformants and people.
How is anybody going to get hurt?
More people are going to get hurt if she doesn't come out with it.
I was just asking if you thought Brian was responsible, Dot. That's all.
No.
Okay.
Not
They
in
were
any
shocked.
way, shape, or form did I ever think that he was, and I still don't, because I know, like, I was somebody that did drugs like a lot of my friends did, and there was a lot of things with drugs related in the area, and there was a lot of animosity towards a whole different type of stuff that went on with that. So I personally think my personal opinion, that it had something to do with Kaylee leaving and them not being happy with her leaving because she still had to continue what they asked her to do in regards to the drug situation. They were very upset that she was going to leave and move away and not be a part of it anymore. That's kind of where I think some of it transpired. But that's
So
just,
you think she was the target? The initial
I
target?
think they were mad. Yeah, I think they were really mad. They found out she was going to be there that night when she, and they were really mad because she was going to be going away, and she was a part of helping them, you know, and aiding in their efforts. And so she was really moving away was a big thing for them.
So if that that makes sense, I guess, if you put it that way. So if she was target per se, why do you think that Maddie, Ethan, and Xana were attacked as well?
I think that the individuals that did it, because I think it was definitely more than one person, but I think that they didn't want to make it obvious, and by just one person, it would really pinpoint. I think that they had to have other collateral people to make it seem like it was not specifically for Kaylee, but there was a lot of stuff that was going on with the frat and Jack, and there was drama. There was so many different things it could be a possibility, but none of them that ever came to my mind was Brian ever, because I never had seen him. After all the stuff came out, I remember that Brent, Kolpaka, and them, I thought that I had remembered seeing them together, but never by the house.
Who together? Brent with who?
So when
just Brent and Brian together.
Brent and Brian together. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But never by the house. But once they had released that information, I thought, I'm like, that looks familiar.
So you've seen Brent and Brian together before?
I thought I did, but I mean, I don't know if it's
where. When was the last time you contacted Ellie about the stuff that you've been talking about tonight?
Probably 4 weeks ago, and they pretty much said that they have all the information that they need.
So you knew this. You knew this when all this shit went down on 11/13 of 22, and you contacted Ellie 4 weeks ago.
No. I contacted them when all the stuff went down. I contacted them a couple weeks after all of it went down. The first time.
So they didn't contact. Okay, what I'm trying to get to is because you said that they didn't take you seriously, right?
Right.
Okay, so when you first contacted them, that's when they didn't take you seriously, and when you contacted them 4 weeks ago, they didn't take you seriously.
No, when I specifically talked with the individual that said that they were gonna relay it to one of the detectives, they said we appreciate leads and stuff, but that they kind of already had what they needed, and they didn't really need any further information.